Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I am not starting this recording off with an intro. I'm just drinking coffee, and oh my god, it is really good. Anyways, Chapter 2 Season 2 of Fortnite Battle Royale. This was one of those times in the game where you just had to be there to understand why it was so good and memorable to most people who played it. For a lot of people, including myself, this was peak Fortnite, and it's not hard to see why when you consider all of the factors going into it. First of all, Chapter 2 Season 1 left a little bit to be desired, and considering how long that season was, which was like, what, 6 months? God, it was really refreshing to see a season that wouldn't last nearly as long. Not to mention that all of the new gimmicks in Chapter 2 Season 2 were really interesting and very unique. This was the first Fortnite season to ever put an emphasis on mythic weapons, and that was totally the right move in retrospect. Every single mythic in this season, for better or for worse, was memorable for their own reasons. And in that entire roster of weapons, the one that I think about the most to this day is the Midas drum gun. Not the one from Chapter 5, not the one from Chapter 4, hell, not even the one from Chapter 2 Season 4. We're talking the OG mythic. The one that's gold-plated and beautiful, while also being incredibly broken. Yeah, I think when it comes to a lot of people's memories on this season, this is the weapon that people remember the most, simply because it was so broken that even casual players were saying that it was a bit unfair. And there's a pretty good reason why people were saying that. If we actually look at the stats of this weapon, it had a 250 DPS. That's pretty rough. Like, you have to consider that this was a time when there was no 250 health. There was only 200. So if somebody was even remotely accurate to you, you were dead. You just could not fight this thing. The Midas drum gun competitively was really disgusting too. This was also during the time when controller players were really starting to shake up the community, and especially legacy controls. Don't even get me started on how bad that was. Oh my god. This was at the height of that argument, and considering how broken this weapon was, you can imagine that a lot of people were just using this weapon on controller. Nothing really came close. And I think that's what made the weapon so special during this time period. Epic was trying something new. It was a weapon that was incredibly hard to get, but incredibly rewarding to use, especially for good players. And to top it all off, it was in a season that a lot of people loved to play. However, Epic clearly thought it was really good for a different reason. They thought it was interesting because it was a drum gun. No, that was not the reason why, but for some reason they ran with that, and now we have like 5 different variations of this same weapon. Hell, a couple of them are named the Midas drum gun still. They are not the same. They cannot compare to the OG in any way, shape, or form. It's actually kind of funny. The OG is the only one that isn't in creative to my knowledge. So, like, why even bother? Though if you do want a quick, comprehensive list on all of the remakes and clones of this weapon, there's the Jules drum gun, which is the same thing but has a worse fire rate if I'm not mistaken. The Shadow Midas, which is the exact same as Jules, but with a much cooler skin. Sorry, not sorry. There's the one in Chapter 4, which is fine. I don't even remember this one, I'm not gonna lie. I never played this season, so I don't care. And then there's the one in Chapter 5, this most recent edition, which has actually overtaken the other one, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm not gonna lie, I have not been playing too much Fortnite recently, but this is still a topic that interests me, so that's why I'm talking about it. I'm sure this all sounded like a rant, but really I'm not ranting about anything. I just think the weapon is interesting, and I wanted to make a video on it. Because I'm sure a lot of you remember this weapon if you played this season. It will always be one of the greats, in my opinion. Just one of those weapons that you can look back on and think, wow, Epic did not know what they were doing, but damn, I really miss this era of Fortnite. I miss when everything was so simple, but that's a topic for another day. Thank you to all of my Extra YSA channel members, those being Dan B, Glitch into Code 867, Nicholas Vankoski, Sleepy, Song, Sophie Gaming, and Wapfa. Alongside my normal channel member, thank you all so much for sticking around, I really appreciate it. And this video was mostly filler. Sorry, I actually have other projects I want to work on, so I'm gonna go. See ya.